Well, I used to keep my money in a cookie jar. It was shaped like a cat, it was a present from my brother. I read a lot of books, but I couldn't see between the lines. I'll have another cup of...
And just like that,
We're live.
We're live. Just like that. So
First viewer, my sister Sandy. Nice to see you, sis.
nice to see you. Always nice to see you here, hanging out with us. Good morning back to you. So YouTube is telling me that we're having a poor stream, so you guys might see some buffering. If you do, that's just the way we move in real life.
Why would YouTube do that to us?
I don't know. She's a little bitch, is what it is. She's just a little...
They don't say that. They're just going to get mad. Now they'll really hit buttons and mess your world.
I guess that's like driving in a car and starting to talk bad about your car while you're in it.
No, you don't talk bad about the car while you're in the car.
You're right.
No, you don't do that.
I think I learned that too sometime, but you forget things. You forget things.
Yeah, well, you never want to tempt worse, you know, because worse is a tricky bastard. You start saying things like, "Oh, it couldn't get any worse." Oh, you want to see? It's
Right.
worse. Like his stuff.
I got worst for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that was weird. So it suddenly just said, "Hey, you're doing great," and then it said no data, and then it says back. So whatever. YouTube is, you know
why,
it could be
Mikey?
being hacked.
Because I didn't let you talk bad about it.
You see? You know, I was thinking too, it could be being hacked. I keep finding this stuff out. I'll be like messing around online. I'm like, I was trying to watch a movie and something happened, and I find out, oh yeah, it's, you know, they hit Amazon or whatever, you know, Netflix with a bunch of, you know,
Wow.
what do? They send them open page things or whatever, page requests or something like that. And what they do is they hit them up with like millions of them, and so it basically bogs down the computer.
Oh, wow.
On the other end. So I keep finding out about, they're doing more and more of that stuff. You know, I think some people, it looks like some people jumped off and jumped back on to see if they could get better service out of the old YouTube.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know.
I know. There's nothing we can do about it. It's out of our hands. Shut up, Siri.
All of life in our hands.
Siri starts talking to me. I don't even know what I said. Did I say anything that sounded like Siri? No.
You're a multitasker, man. You just love listening to several conversations at once. I often see you tune out on me.
Not during the show. I mean, once in a blue
Absolutely.
moon. Once in a blue moon. By the way, I have some other shots. I think I told you this morning. I have some other shots that came to me after our little Mars. George Clooney right here. If you guys are looking at George Clooney here, next Friday, we are going to be debuting our minute-and-a-half long clip where George Clooney gets to show off some of his acting.
Which of me is George Clooney?
Yes, you're George Clooney.
Yeah, Mike has a minute-and-a-half clip he's been making in this app where he can make things look like it's a real world. So he made a Mars movie clip with him as the astronaut because he's the hero and daring do, and me as the commander because you know my clear gravitas and commander-like presence. And so
Obviously,
you'd
be telling me what to do. If we were in real life, you'd be telling me what to do. So we're just trying to keep it to that kind of.
You know, we're just trying to you know, play the type, as they say in business.
Yes.
And so I happened to mention to Mikey that I sort of modeled my stoic performance after George Clooney. And really, I think that once you see the clip, you'll instantly recognize the Clooney in that performance. I mean, I'm good.
I mean, this is Three Kings Clooney too. Like when he was cool. This is like, you know.
Oh yeah, right. Of course. Yeah. I'm
Ocean's 11 Clooney.
clearly,
You know.
I think that you'll see that I am cooler than George Clooney.
Easily. I mean, this is like Ocean's.
I couldn't even say that with a straight face. I couldn't even say it with a straight face.
It's like Ocean's 11 on Mars, basically. That's what's going on.
That's the movie you should have made.
Ocean's 11 on Mars.
Pull in a few more guys and have a caper.
Yeah,
on Mars.
A caper would be fun.
See what I'm saying?
Yes. I don't know what we'd rob on Mars, but you know, we'd
Martians.
Go get Martians.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's how Earth people are. We go somewhere and we take what we want. You know,
You're right.
If you ever watched the original Planet of the Apes movie back in the 1968 or 67, the astronauts arrive on the planet. They don't know where they are, and they're lost in time, and it's all rock and desert. And they find a flower, and one of them looks, look, there's a flower. That's a sign of life. And they go, great, and they pick it. That's so perfect. That's America right there in a nutshell.
Yep.
That's a sign of life. Well, we don't want that. Let's fucking take that up.
Well, let me own it.
We'll
Whatever
take it
is.
with us to show others that there was once a sign of life.
Look, here's the life, and why isn't it alive anymore? I don't know. I guess it needed the ground or something, but I couldn't tell you for sure, to be honest.
Anyway, so y'all tune in next week for Mikey's movie extravaganza.
That's
You
right.
know, when I was in, back to my old stories, when I was in New York, there was this great scene, ABC No Rio. I think it still exists as an art scene, but back then it truly was an abandoned storefront, and we all sat on the floor or in whatever chairs were there, and it was spoken word and songwriters and poets, and there was a Greek guy who was about 78, and Tommaso, and he always wore a long trench coat, which you always had the fear he was going to flash you, and he had a cane, and he had a Greek fisherman's hat, and he recited dirty poetry about having sex with young girls. He was quite beloved in the community of 20-somethings who were all poets and songwriters. And there was this one guy, he was an amazing young creative spirit. His name was Billy Syndrome. He was a punk rocker. And Billy was on a mission to take more acid than anybody had ever done before and to chronicle that in film and music. He wrote a song called Colonel Sanders got to kill a chicken by sundown. That was a pretty instant punk classic. But all summer long, one summer, he was working on a film. Now, he doesn't have your gadgets you have now where you can create Mars and shit. He was working with a camera in the streets and the people and creating an avant-garde film he was going to debut at our Sunday night ABC No Rio hang. And every single Sunday when we sing our songs and recite our poetry, they'd say, Billy, you got anything? And he had this long hair and hanging in his face, and he'd always smile, and he'd go, no, man, I'm saving it up for my film debut. He's going to blow you guys' mind. This film is so cool. So like literally, 2.5 months of this go. And it's getting to be the end of summer, and it's time for Billy's big film debut. He's hyped it, and we're all excited. We're going to see Billy's film. So there's, the 50, 35 of us, however many are sitting in ABC No Rio with our little beers and paper bags and reciting our poetry, and finally it's Billy's turn to show the film he's been working on all summer, and he sets up the reel back when you had to have film on spools, and he hits the lights, and at that moment Tommaso, the 78-year-old Greek poet who recited dirty poetry, walked in, and like he always did, he lifted his cane in the air and he yelled, Tommaso's here! And when he did, he hit the cord in the wall that went up with his cane, jerked the camera off the stand. The camera shattered, and the film just spooled across the floor until it literally spooled around the room and emptied. And we all sat in horror with, our eyes were big, thinking, oh, poor Billy, what's he going to do? And Billy just watched it like this, man, with his hair hanging in his face, just watching it. And when it finally stopped rolling, we were waiting for him to say something. He looked back at us all and he went, awesome.
That's crazy, right?
It was perfect, man.
Yeah. Sounds funny. I guess you guys never did respool it and look at his avant-garde film?
Oh, that was the moment. That was the art.
You're right. He's like,
had
the
already
art was
happened.
more
You couldn't
important than...
possibly create that art, man. You couldn't have scripted that art, and you couldn't recreate it. And Billy was a genius and knew that, and he let it play.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
that's...
film.
I'm not quite so avant-garde in my particular... I'm actually hoping that it's seen and people don't drop their phones when it's playing and break in the middle.
Yeah, but then there's always that stuff that doesn't get seen or heard. What are you going to do? You just do what you do. That's the art. Van Gogh never sold a painting in his lifetime, and he's considered...
Oh, I don't expect to sell anything. Don't get me wrong.
Or even he never got noticed. Nobody, gave a shit about him. Just he was compelled to be Van Gogh, and so he is.
You know what? In our own way, we're both Van Gogh, right? Because...
Oh yeah, we're both unknown and
barely known, slightly known,
barely known, slightly known, and have work that will be it after. Somebody will make money off of it after we're gone. I hope.
maybe.
Hopefully, a relative like his.
Yeah.
I'm with him.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! So, I'm sorry. I just haven't stretched yet
I
this
know you're
morning.
staying up late working on this shit, aren't you? You're like up all
Well,
night
I
working.
can't, I just can't sleep anyway. So I was up. I went to bed probably about midnight. Woke up again about 2. Worked on it for an hour or so because I kept having to export out these new shots of you, and it took a little while on the exports. So it was like, all right, I let it go.
Well, it's good
45
to know
minutes
that you're
didn't
putting
sleep.
into my performance. I think when you have an actor of a Clooney or an Ed Harris caliber, and I think that you do it justice to put in the time as director to make sure it comes out right.
Well, that was the other thing
And
too.
I'm
Is I want to make sure people notice that Detective Dillard, is in this clip. I mean, people are going to be. I remember watching some other small filmmakers, and there's a guy. Who's the guy? He's blonde-haired guy. He played. I'm trying to remember what role he played because I'm sure you've seen him. He's kind of a supporting actor, kind of a guy. But gosh, what is one of the movies that he's been in? I can't. Anyway, he's in a lot of big movies, but he's a supporting actor, right? And this guy had him in his little film or whatever like that, in this little short, and you see it, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's the guy who did with the yeah, I know that guy, William Sadler or something, I think his name is. Suddenly Sadler came to my mind. Anyway, it was just kind of so. This is Detective Dillard. Anybody who's seen NCIS and be like, oh, that's Detective Dillard.
all the greats imprint themselves on, like Harrison Ford as Han Solo. You can't picture anybody else as Han Solo.
Nope.
So you can't picture anybody else as a Detective Dillard.
No way.
When they decide to make that spinoff, I'll get the call. It may take them a while. They may have to let Scott Bakula just sort of forget about it all. It's probably a little traumatic for him standing next to that kind of heat that I brought to the set.
See, I think it could be a new show like Blue Gumbo, because then it's got the cops, but New Orleans,
Blue Gumbo.
Blue Gumbo, and then Paul's like, you're the star, Detective
Like a
Dillard's
play on the Blue Dog. But
right,
it's not.
but it's not.
It's also cops.
That's right,
Blue.
and of course the Gumbo. We know what the Gumbo is. So
I think we should just start writing it and shoot it on your little fake thing.
yeah, we'll have some importance. We'll have to figure out a mystery. That's
All right.
we'll just figure out a
work on
mystery.
it.
Yeah, so Blue Gumbo, I think it's gonna be an exciting show. We'll have you like jumping over cars and shit. It'll be fun.
Oh, it got me jumping over cars. Really?
Well, I just came to me.
I'm thinking Detective Dillard has a young, Robin-like sidekick that can jump over cars.
There you go. And you could just be like the guy who's like Seven, right? Like you're Morgan Freeman, and you have to
I'm
have
Morgan
like,
Freeman. Yeah.
Right.
I'm the brains, and
You're in the library
Brad
while
Pitt.
he's running around like a maniac
Right,
in fist
exactly.
fights. Right.
exactly.
I do like that idea. Detective
Yeah,
Dillard.
because it more suits a man of my station.
The Steamy City. Somebody just said, Detective Dillard, the Steamy City.
You
I
see?
like that. Yeah, I like that too. See, there's all kind of.
Well, we could have a title contest.
Yes. Who comes up with the best
And-
title
and,
for Detective Dillard's show?
Well, it's got to happen. I mean, I think the 30 seconds I spent on screen are probably going to imprint on people's consciousness for a long, long time.
Of course. I'm thinking, should his sidekick be named like Gaucho? Gauchos? It could be like Gaucho.
That sounds like a
those-
form.
But do you remember that was that place, right? It was another store. It's Dillard's and Gaucho, right?
Yeah, I don't like it.
know,
Oh, you mean gauchos? I couldn't
Gauchos,
understand
yeah.
your slide out.
My Slidell accent.
We didn't call it gauchos. They might have called it like that out at the plaza in Slidell.
That's what they called it out. How did you say it again? Because remember they had the Santa Claus every year, right? You had to go to get your
Gauchos, yes.
Gauchos, yes.
There's a G-O-D, chose, C-H-E-A-U-X. There's an actual D there. There's no gochos. It's not
So anyway, Gaucho.
not gacho. Not like not like Nacho Mama.
So it's something like that. Gotcha. And you could be like,
You know, it's fun.
gotcha.
I don't know if Joe talked about it on the interview. He talked about it on the pre-interview, how the New Orleans street name topic always comes up.
Right.
And all our lives, we thought that we were mispronouncing it.
And it turns out
That
it's a
it's
different
really
pronunciation, right? Yeah.
And Calliope was a mispronunciation. And he told us the actual pronunciation, which I don't remember now. I'd have to look
Wasn't
it
it
up.
Calliope or
Had
something like that? Something like,
It had something to do with honor and strength. And
right.
I don't know. He was like a source of history. It was so too much to take in.
Yeah.
We should have had him on for a portion of his life. and let him talk.
We're gonna have to break it into
Because
portions with him. Yes, I think so because he does.
yeah, he's a guy like I said to him in a message I sent to him afterwards. Listen to him speak about his life because he almost wouldn't be interrupted with my little side stories. He was compelled to give his truth. And I told him it reminded me of a story of Gandhi. He was leaving a town on a train, and a man ran up just as he was boarding the train, and he said, "Please give me a message to take back to my people." And he didn't have much time. He hurriedly scribbled on a piece of paper, and he got on the train and split. And when the guy opened the message to look at it, it said simply, "My life is my message."
I love it.
And that's how that young man's living. He's bringing his Creole heritage to the world in the way he wishes to, with the kind of dignity he believes it always deserves, and with the sort of cautious approach of making sure there's no missteps. It's not confused with Cajun or with other kinds of music. It's a specific and historical and important part of American history. I appreciated him.
Me too.
You
I
know,
appreciate
and-
it too, and that's why I apologize at the end about being flip because I have a tendency to be like most Americans, which is like, just sort of put him in these tiny little boxes where he was trying to make the box bigger. I think it's like no, it's a little
Well, I
bit
didn't mind being
bigger.
flip. I love being flip. I think he was a good-natured fellow.
Yeah, he was a good natured. He's a good guy.
I cut him with the story about Dave Turgeon on Jed's throwing his crotch in Jed's face, and I cut him with a couple of stories. And he was all fine. In fact, I think some of it gave him perspective. Some of my own personal troubles coming up. I think when you're young and you're dealing with the troubles you had coming up, it's always nice to hear somebody old say, here's how it was hard for me. Because for a moment, I remember him going, "Wow, that's okay. That's
Right.
that's a little perspective."
Right.
And that's great. That's the whole reason for the whole dang shooting match, is to try and connect a little bit.
And I think I want stuff like that at the heart of some of these little stories we're telling. Obviously not the Mars stories, but just the idea of, perspective, right? From one person's
Well, let's be
perspective.
honest. The Mars story, as you just so grandly referred to it,
Right.
is a 1 minute clip.
Yes, no.
So
it's
the
a-
story
it's
is
a
a rather
scene.
brief one.
Yeah, no, it's just
It
a
is a
scene.
scene.
That's all it is. I do realize it's just a scene, but but what I'm getting at is just the idea that everybody's in their own inner head, right, about everything, and I see people do this all the time, just in their normal life, right, where it's like you're so in your head and something somebody else says still has to go through the filter of you before it really can be processed and turned into something else. And I see people misread emails and texts all the time just because they immediately get defensive before they're even really trying to put themselves in the place of the other person.
That's why I'm on my last year of emails and texts. It's
Yeah?
my last year of my
because
Yep.
because it's harder to
November of
convey.
next year.
But it makes me
November of
think,
next
what
year,
did they
I'm
do back in the day
going-
when they sent letters everywhere? Imagine you wait, it's 1800s, you wait a month to get this letter, you get it, and something in it pisses you off and makes you feel like, what did they mean by that? So how do you solve
Absolutely.
that? How do you solve that?
Well, also, there was a lot less problems, man. I say this all the time. Like cell phones, you get a cell phone and say, you go out and some friend goes, "Hey, man, I called you 2 days ago. You never got back to me." You're like, "Oh, fuck." And you make up some excuse, or you really were busy, or you were sick, or whatever the fuck. When I was young, you go out to a bar and you see a friend and he goes, "Hey, man, I called you a couple of days ago and you didn't answer." You go, "Oh, yeah, I wasn't home." And you go, "Oh, you want a beer?" And that's it. Why the fuck you got to know my business, man? Why
Right.
you got to know why I didn't answer the call?
I'm glad I don't
I
have
don't know.
people. I've seen these arguments where it's like, hey, I put up a thing of coffee and you didn't like it. What? You didn't like my picture of my
Yeah.
family vacation or whatever. It's like, oh my God, I don't like anything because if you forget to like something, you're fucked, right? It's like you can't like some things and not other things.
No, I like what I want to like.
Good for you.
And I don't ever hit don't like. I just go, "Oh, that person's probably not my energy." And I block them for like 30 days because you have that. And if they come back with some nasty energy, I go, "I don't really need that energy. That's the exact energy I'm trying to work out of me. Let me go ahead and block them
you again.
permanently."
Permanently. Boom.
Well, we'll bump into each other in the streets if we're old friends. And if we're not, it didn't fucking matter.
Right. Because obviously you don't agree on anything anyway, so fuck it.
Whatever. It's an app, man. I'm not going to fight over an app.
Right.
It rules our life now.
let's see, Gmail prompts
We're
me
not
to
on
reply
that.
to someone, and they haven't replied back in a Gmail approved time frame. Oh my God, I can imagine. So and so hasn't written you back. It's like, leave me alone, Google. I know they haven't called me back. Jesus Christ. I'm getting-
That's the last thing I want is Google telling me my friends are.
Yes, we just leave it. We don't have to harass this person, right? I can see it, like Google sending
Because
the
the
letter
next step
twice.
is, like Google goes, oh, your friend hasn't answered your email, and by the way, your friends Mike and Eddie were talking shit about you.
Right.
Alexa told me, you know.
And Google starting shit all over the world.
Well, yeah, Alexa and Google getting into it, getting into your shit, and then telling other people,
We know that they got listening devices on us. Your phone is your listening device, so they got everything we've ever said recorded. So if they need the evidence,
Come on. This goes back to the 50s. They invented this giant screen that you could see from the main headquarters. And nobody ever thought they could probably see us too.
right?
We can hear, they could probably hear us too. And you know what it's called? Programming.
That's right.
The
It's
Federal
called-
Communications Commission controls your programming.
That's right, and they call it programming. You're right. That is so because, wow.
So don't get fucking bent out of shape about it now. You've been doing it your whole life. You've been watching Bewitched because they wanted you to. All right?
You're
You were
being
watching
programmed.
Friends
You've been
because-
programmed.
You were watching Friends because they wanted kids to move to New York and make some money.
Right.
Great. Who gives a fuck? Did it entertain you? Did it make you laugh? Great. Life's hard. Whatever makes you laugh, whatever makes you smile, a butterfly, a sitcom, a beautiful book, whatever the hell. Good. Great for you. Great on it.
A
Let's
kitten.
keep moving.
Kittens, right? Kittens make you smile.
Hey man, I got a friend. He's a beautiful cat. He was a set dresser, is a set dresser. He kind of taught me the ropes when I was doing it briefly. Brutal job on films.
Right.
And he's a big cat. And he's a kind of cat that did the competitions on the weekend where he carried logs, hikes, and just a big, strong, tough guy. Tattoos and piercings. His name's Todd Piku. Into martial arts. Really just tough guy. And then the last time I saw him was on the set of Your Honor with some old friends. My friend Travis Acosta, who's in a heavy metal band. And Todd was real slim. And I asked him what's up. And he was fighting cancer. And I was so sorry to hear it because he's got a wife and he's got kids and he's really devoted family man. But he was so positive. I was like, you still do the martial arts thing? And he goes, no, my focus is on getting healthy. I'm good, man. He smiled at me. And it was like a real peaceful smile. And then I started following him on Facebook. And every day he would post, I love you, comma, keep going. And people would post back whatever. And I would always post back, I love you, keep going. And he announced last week that he's in remission. He and his family are in a beautiful place. And, yeah, keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I guess it can come out there now, but Dale from Chikiwawa has been having some health issues, and
I texted him the day before his surgery to give him my love and to wish him luck. And then through the Dale grapevine, I've heard that he's had some complications. And I'm so sorry to hear that.
he has.
I'm glad
he
you
seems
have.
to be coming out of it, though.
Good.
So I got some
Good.
news yesterday. They finally got him off the life support medications because they had him on life support medications for a minute. Apparently, his heart stopped a few times, so they had to get him going
I
again.
know that some of the folks watching pray. I know that my sister Sandy's got a pretty good line to God. So say a prayer for my friend Dale Triguero, who owns Chikiwawa, had open heart surgery and is going through some complications.
And we're hoping that he's on the final road to recovery at this point.
I hope that he is back and aggravating the fuck out of me in less than a month's time.
Same here. I cannot wait for him to drive me crazy one more time. Come on, man, drive me crazy one more time.
Absolutely.
Call me up. It's funny because our personalities are so different, and we were teaming up on a bunch of things. And Dale. Dale's real gruff. He's New Yorker. He's definitely like somebody's trying to fuck me. Like everything is like somebody's trying to fuck me. Yes. And me, I'm like, man, not trying to fuck you. I'm like always trying to put the other person's. And one day he tells me, he goes, "You're just so nice. Why are you so damn nice?" And I'm like, I just don't see the world the way that you see the world, or I just don't want to see the world the way that you see the world. I'm happy with the way I see the world.
He was New York's version of Bob French in that way.
Right.
You know, and Bob French, every time he got a gig offer, his first answer was "fuck you."
Right.
And,
Why would you do
that was
something nice? You got to be up to something. Fuck you. Right.
Yeah. I worked with a lot of the guys he mentored, and they would all say, "Yeah, Bob always says to tell him fuck you on the first offer." I'm like, that's not always great practice, you know. There's
Especially for
other
guys
ways.
like you and I. I mean, you know, we're not Bob French, so I guess we can't give him the
No,
good old
well,
fuck you, and they don't.
See, if
keep
I
coming.
had Bob's, if I had his cachet, I probably could tell people "fuck you" on the first offer. He was a legend in this town.
Yes, yes. If you had his
I'm not.
gravitas. No, you're not. You're the guy who's like, really? You want me? I'll be down there. What time? What time? I'll be there.
Yeah. You got a gig, man. Fuck.
I'll be there 10 minutes early. Let's go. What are we doing?
Yeah, let's do this. And can we end 10 minutes early too? Because I'm a little tired.
I'm a little tired. And I haven't smoked weed all day for you, and I just need to get home so I can catch a little buzz.
Whatever.
I need my 2 fingers of,
My 2 fingers of
marijuana.
tequila
And
take the edge off.
I'm going to take 4 fingers. I'm sorry. I need a bigger glass.
Well, you always did, Mikey.
And-
It is 9:30, by the
oh,
way.
it's 9:30. Oh, I do. Look, he's there. I see Luis. You ready? Let's pull him in.
It's time for the superhero review, and I missed Loki this week, so I'm going to be a little out of it. I have some Star Wars stuff to go through with him, but Loki I missed.
What are you drinking? You got coffee in that big giant Thor mug?
It is 9:30.
It's 9:30. Oh, I do. Look, he's there. I see Luis. You ready? Luis?
Yeah, it's time for the superhero review.
Luis, you're listening to YouTube. You're not listening to us.
I have some Star Wars stuff to go through with him.
Hello, Luis.
What are you drinking? You got coffee in that big giant Thor mug?
He's
I had some, I think chamomile. I had some weird cha tea thing. It's iced.
That is so funny. So he's behind us. Are you listening to us or are you listening to YouTube?
Right. Okay.
He's doing it now.
Yeah.
We got it. Now we got it. Sorry.
There we go.
Sorry.
That's okay. You were behind us a little
Louise,
bit.
Welcome to the show. Well, you know what? You're covering Loki, so there should be a timeline thing.
That was my fault. I'm sorry. That was
You were in an
weird,
alternate reality. That's all. It was kind of fun, actually.
It was perfect.
Oh yeah, I'm always behind in the conversation, man. And it is rainy here today. Like Elvis saying, it's a cold day in the ghetto, right? I'm not in the ghetto, but close enough.
It's
to
funny. That's
Chicago.
one of the songs I play on piano now.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
That's a great song.
Nice.
That's a great
Yeah,
song.
and see, that's one that we can do.
You know who wrote that song? Mac Davis wrote that song. And the story he tells is he's like hadn't had a hit in a while, and he was playing it for a friend. I think Leon Redbone, and he's like, "Hey man, that's a really good one. You think I could cover it?" And he said, "I was kind of hoping you'd play it for Elvis. I think you could do a good job of it." And Elvis loved it, and it's a great song, and it's a great version.
So Amy was just asking, what kind of mugs do we think we want? Or people want small, large, insulated. So I think we're putting.
I think your basic coffee mug. I think
Yeah.
we're basic.
Like
basic.
like something like this, but with our logo on it, kind of thing. Just a regular old coffee mug with our logo.
Yeah.
So
You ever notice nowadays it's like, when somebody says a cup of coffee is no longer just 8 ounces. It's like one of those venti things. You know what I mean? It's
Oh man.
people define coffee differently nowadays.
Yeah.
So it's like.
they do
and,
like the
you
giant
want-
cups. Maybe we should make a
Right.
big cup, right? Is what I think Luis is saying. It's like maybe our cup should be a little bigger to go, hey, when you drink coffee with us, it's an hour. You got to make this fucking cup last.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
I think that you should have whatever size cup you want. I like a normal size cup. What I don't appreciate is the places that won't let me use the terms small, regular, and large. You're going to call it a grande and a this day and a that day, and I'm still going to say I want the medium. And they're going to go with the medium. There we have a blah 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 and a blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, whatever the medium is, that's what I would like.
Right. I have had that
Whatever that
conversation
means
with
to
him
you and the language you are choosing to speak to me,
because
because language is getting confusing.
it's and Starbucks is such a marketing trick because all 3 names mean something big fairly, right? Because it's tall, large, or whatever the vente, right? So they have,
Vente. What the fuck?
right.
Okay, Polly, and this is.
They have clean bathrooms at Starbucks.
They
So I'll
do
tell
have
you what,
clean
when I was on
bathrooms.
tour, that's where I would stop to use the bathroom. Because Starbucks all private toilet and it's clean.
Polly, I'm gonna get. This is where your Spanish could come into play. Vente is like veinte is 20 in Spanish, so they're going a little deviating. So vente means 20 ouncer. I don't know if you saw the movie Role Models with Paul Rudd.
Yes, great movie.
He had a whole issue on the same thing you just said. It was just almost verbatim from the movie.
Was it?
Because,
See, you
because
just think
why
like
do
that
the
writer.
people just
Well, you know,
and-
when you add my name to the list of actors who have made an impact, you say Clooney, you say Paul Rudd, you're talking about that's the level of talent. And I honestly believe it's my humility that has kept me from reaching their acclaim.
By the way, since we're on Hero Review, JC came on and said, good morning. He wanted to thank us, three knuckleheads, for helping him convince his girlfriend to watch all 23 MCU movies in timeline order. He said they just got done with Black Panther. He's an ACOC wingman for life because we helped.
It's pretty great. It's pretty great. I did the Marvel timeline thing at Luis's suggestion, and it was awesome. And I'm doing the Star Wars timeline thing at his suggestion in sequence with the first crappy movies that came out later as the first ones. And I have to say, man, Ray has the kind of, panache that the original three characters had. I think they I don't know why they connected her to Palpatine, who was a douche anyway. And she should have been, and it should have paralleled Leia and Luke's story. Leia and Luke's story. It should have been that Han and Leia hid her there, and there was supposed to be a Jedi to watch over her who something happened to him, but they hid her there so that the Emperor wouldn't find out about her.
Right.
It should have totally paralleled because she's got she has Luke's knowledge of the Force. She has Leia's courage, and she has Han's both smartass wit and knowledge of the Falcon. It would have tied in so beautifully.
Yes, I
And
know.
then you find out in the second one.
Part of me
she's from
wonders
Palpatine.
if,
Like,
I mean,
who gives a
everybody
fuck if she-
immediately
Palpatine's
assumed
an
that
ass.
she was Han and Leia's daughter. So I think part of the reason that they stayed away from that was because they were trying to, not be so obvious. But it would have made a much more compelling story. Is the problem? It's
It would
like,
have made a much more compelling story. It would have made more sense. And really, again, I said it just now, but who gives a fuck that she was Palpatine's daughter? He was an asshole.
right. Well, why even bring back Palpatine? He's supposed to be dead. So now you're
Why even
undoing
bring back
Return of the
Palpatine?
Jedi. Now you're undoing Luke's victory.
Right.
It's just crazy. It's like, and that,
Yeah. I did
people have
not-
had lots of
I
problems
didn't
with the new
approve it.
trilogy because of shit like that. It's like,
they're
Well-
right all over the place.
yeah.
There's a lot of holes in the new trilogy. There's some really good moments in the second one, and there's some really great moments in the last one. I'm going to say the last one stands with the first three. It's going to be controversial with some of you, but the last one stands with the first three.
I don't agree at all. I think the story's too simplistic, but
Well, I think that you are too simplistic with your pronunciation. Gochos.
Gachos.
Gachos. Gotchas.
Gotchas. So you don't know about gachos.
So there's that. And
Luis.
what else did I have to say about Kylo Ren? Again, he's
All right,
right. He's a little bitch. Sorry, that's all I can
He's
say.
a
right
whiner.
here.
Yeah.
And he has tantrums. Like, I thought part of being the Darth Vader was controlling your anger.
Right.
He's having freaking tantrums. He's destroying the ship. He's destroying his helmet. He's basically like a 6-year-old.
I know. I do like the idea of having him sort of not be able to be in control of his emotions, which would lead you to the dark side of the Force. I get that. But he shouldn't be our focus as the next Darth Vader figure if you're going to do that,
No.
though. Right? Because
No.
the problem with Darth Vader is it's one of the most iconic villains in history.
Right.
And he's
Right.
always in control. It always seems like what he's doing is for a reason. Whereas Kylo's just kind of stumbling around, pretend like
Well, they
wannabe.
sort of make that.
I
they
know.
make fun of his mask and all that.
And
kind
once
of
you
stuff.
start doing that, I just think it's all just you need villains.
will
You
say
need
the
real
finest
villains to
thing-
make it work.
The finest scene is when he is nose to nose with Harrison Ford, because you actually believe he's his son, because they both have giant proboscis, they both have prominent noses, and they both have beady eyes, and there they are staring at each other, and you're like, look, they got big noses and beady eyes. It could be.
It could
It
be.
could be.
By the way, I do love the actor who plays the kid, Kylo. He's a great
Yeah,
actor.
and all these other movies he's great in, but it's like little whiny bitch, you know. It's all I can say about the whole movie. I just he was not an easy sell for me. I didn't like what they did with him and Ray. It's like, dude, you know,
Again, because unless they're going to wind up being related, what's the connection?
Right.
Luke and Leia like each other.
Not to mention,
nobody in the history of Star Wars has ever had a moment like this, but you two are going to have it, and we're never going to explain it.
and not only that, I mean, every other Star Wars story, the Jedi's had to, whoever the Jedi's were, they had to earn their abilities. You know, it wasn't something that was just natural. All of them. Luke Skywalker, who's supposed to be the greatest ever, had to learn how to use his abilities.
But that was how impressive she was.
I get that you're trying to make that sort of thing, but there should be a few places where, I mean, here's the problem with that is like, all right, in order for your villain to work, if your villain kicks the good guy's ass, then now you have a threat, something for him to overcome, something for your good guy to go, well, I need to get someplace up. But if she can already kick everybody's ass, he's already a whiny bitch. It's like, there's no story there that's compelling is what starts to happen. Is it starts to become like, well, you know, what is she worried about? She can kick his ass. Anyway.
It should have been more about Luke because she could kick his ass, but she was missing the main elements of the Force.
Right.
When it came down to it, she understood the physical elements. She was a scavenger. She was used to getting by on anything. So she used the Force to get by, like a fucking scavenger. But she had no cerebral or soulful awareness of the Force.
You're already making it better. You're already making the movie better just by digging in and trying to create a little more depth to the character.
Well, that's what she was lacking. That's why she needed Luke.
Right.
And that's why he ignored her at first until he saw the power. And then he was willing to help her. But even then, she was hard. She was undisciplined. She was more physical than she was cerebral or soulful.
Right.
And it took a while for him to get through in that. So I think I thought that was all. I thought he should have been a bigger part of the movie. And Kylo Ren.
Not only should he have been a bigger part of the movie, but
frankly, one of the things that made Darth so sort of omnipresent was that he wasn't present.
Right.
You know, you were always afraid he would show up, and then when he did, it was a fearful moment. With Kylo Ren, he's on the screen too much, and half the time he's throwing tantrums.
Right. So you're not scared of him. And to take it even further, like I said, she's kicked his ass every time they fought. She kicked his ass.
Yeah.
It's like, where's the threat?
Well,
Shouldn't
he's up
there
there
be a threat?
just whining essentially. Why didn't somebody just kick him in the balls? You know,
Right.
There should have been like a stormtrooper from Boston who was there to say, "Hey, what do you want? A cup of crybaby soup? Pick up your skirt, you Mary."
So here, all right. So here's what I think was originally the story. This is, and it's through a lens of woke politics. Is what happens is they're originally writing this story. So you do this setup. She is fighting Kylo Ren. She has no idea about the Force. She's just starting to tap into it. She's kind of holding her own a little bit, but she's getting her ass kicked for the most part, and it's getting dangerous. Luke shows up and saves her and takes her back with him. That's where the story should have went, because that makes sense. But you have a feeling that there's people in there going, well, you can't have a man come save a woman. You know, so people are sacrificing story elements because they're worried about how it's going to look on the Twitter stream.
I didn't think of her as a woman. I thought of her as a powerful Jedi.
Right.
And that's the whole point. They did not stress the Jedi element enough.
No.
They wanted Luke so to hate having been a Jedi. They thought that was important. That they kept the Jedi element out, which, hey, by the way, tied together an entire franchise.
Right. It's like, not to mention,
who directed that? Who directed that one?
Ryan Johnson wrote it and directed it.
Okay, well, he's got issues.
He's got issues. He's obviously got mommy and daddy issues. Right. He
says
he was. He says he was a huge Star Wars fan, but I don't think he really got it. I don't think he really understood.
Well, you know who he is? He's like Neil Patrick Harris in How I Met Your Mother. He's a fan of Johnny from Cobra Kai. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He's basically, he's watched it and he was a fan, but he liked all the wrong things about it.
Right. Speaking of which, that show's great, by the way. Anybody who hasn't watched Cobra Kai,
it's a great show.
It's way better than it should be. It's so much better than it should be.
Well, again, I've said it before, but nostalgia is the strongest.
It's not even just nostalgia. It's well-written characters. It's really well-written, man.
Hey, have they started season 4 yet?
Not yet. Not yet.
They just, Johnny
Next
just
year.
posted on Instagram that they wrapped up filming about a week or two ago. So
Gotcha.
I watched the entire series, but there were moments where I was like, it hurts a little bit. I lost a little piece of my soul in watching this, but then the next scene was something that made me go, that's fun. You know?
What I like is actually it redefines. If you watch Karate Kid after watching those, suddenly you realize this is the same Machio character. He's still the same. Complaining, bitching, everybody's always... And so you start to see Karate Kid differently. You start to go, maybe he was the fucking antagonist here, and maybe Johnny was just doing his thing.
Well, come on, man. Ralph Macchio poured water on him when he was on roller.
Embarrassed him in front of his friends. Went after his girl.
He just fucked with his costume.
But the stereo.
Cost him money.
Hey, I think Barney was right. Though.
I think Barney had something.
Yeah.
But let me ask you guys this: the girl who's bad at the end, right? The little, I forgot her name, Tori.
Right.
What do you think about her mother? Because I think this all connects back to, because she really hates Miyagi, right? She really hates that whole thing. So she's even beyond crease. You know what I mean? She wants blood from these people. And personally, I think because she accidentally kicks Miyagi's picture when she was fighting Russo's daughter, right? I think that her mom, who's I think dying sick of cancer, is the girl from $1 Million Baby. I forgot her name. She was the female Karate Kid. I forgot her name already.
Yeah,
Hilary Swank.
Hilary Swank, right?
Hilary Swank. So I think her mom may be Hilary Swank.
Interesting.
Who's dying of cancer. And that's why she has a real man-on about
Wouldn't that be something if they brought that in too? Wow.
I think it is, because they're bringing in every other character, right? They're bringing in Silva, Kreese's army buddy in the next one. And he was in Karate Kid Part 3. So they're bringing back everybody. So
that's
I don't
right.
see
They're bringing that villain from Part 3 in now. That's right.
Yes. He's going to be the main villain, right?
No shit.
So they're bringing everybody in. Who are you missing? You're missing Hilary Swank's character from the next Karate Kid.
Uh-huh.
So you can say that she's the next person, and she may be oblivious to what her daughter Tori's doing, to where at one point she's going to be like, no, Miyagi was great. You shouldn't be such a jerk about all this. That's where I think it's going to go. So...
Interesting. I've got a little side note for you guys. I'm curious about this. So Netflix, you never know when they're going to cancel a show. I mean, they just...
Right.
And the thing about Netflix is it doesn't matter how well a show's doing. Netflix looks at things a little bit differently because they're not selling advertising. They're selling subscriptions. So the less money they have to spend to sell those subscriptions is what's going on. So it's what's starting to come out is that they put out the show Jupiter's Legacy, right? I'm not sure it was for you, but anyway, it did really well as a streaming show. They canceled it already because it just didn't get... It was actually... The Nielsen rating said it was the most watched thing for like a month. The most watched thing on Netflix. And they still canceled it because the cost versus the amount of press it was getting or whatever just didn't make it work. So these days, it's really getting weird as... It's not even about how many people are interested in what you're seeing. There's other metrics involved that we don't even understand or get.
Right.
And so they just canceled that show away. You're talking about Hilary Swank. That's what made me think about it. And that show, I was like really starting to dig it. And then they fucking canceled it before there's going to be another season. So you got to watch Netflix. Problem with Netflix, when you jump in some of these seasons early, they love to end on cliffhangers, and then they might cancel it. And I think it's going to start to hurt them coming up in the future, where people are just like, fuck this, I'm just sick of then again, I could be wrong and people don't care and they just like, this is good disposable, I'm half drunk, stoned, I just need something to keep my fucking eyes and mind busy for a minute. I don't give a shit if there's another episode or not, whatever, just get me through the next.
To your point on that, I mean, there is just so much TV now, there's just so much TV, so many different services. I mean, like in the 80s, we all cared about who shot JR. Right, and everybody was talking about who shot JR, and because we all watched the same TV show, because you only had 4 channels to watch, technically, right? Now it's like, did you see this? No, but that was on Prime. I don't have Prime. Watch this. Well, that's on Apple Plus. There's so much, everything all over the place. It's really hard. I mean, the last real thing I remember is like Game of Thrones. Everybody was into Game of Thrones. Everybody had HBO, right? And that was a good. Water cooler. If Game of Thrones was happening, that would be part of our superhero review because everybody was watching it.
You never saw Game of Thrones? So, oh my God. All right, I'm going to say something unpopular now myself, which is that I didn't necessarily... All right, I didn't like the way I didn't like the last episode, the way that it tied everything together necessarily. I I knew what they were going for, but I didn't think they pulled it off. And there's a couple things that happened in the last season that I thought they tried to pull off a little too early. But I didn't hate everything. Like, people fucking hate the last season of Game of Thrones. Like, enough to not watch the fucking show. But the show is so good, Paul. It is so fucking good. Especially the first 4 seasons are like probably one of the best things ever on TV. It's so deep and worth watching.
I don't have HBO. And so,
you do. We keep telling you you have it because of your fucking AT&T.
I'm gonna have to get you to explain that to me offline with it, because Allison has AT&T, so she should, by all rights, be able to get it. But then when we try and get it, it says you have to subscribe.
No, well, what it is you just need to tell them that you're getting it off a TV service. Because what you can do is when you
do you have HBO as it is under AT&T? Then you don't have it.
No, HBO comes with AT&T. Oh, no, okay, they got Uverse. You guys got Uverse. I'm thinking, right.
No, we don't have Uverse.
Oh, no, you got it on your phone then? It's on your phone? Because I have AT&T app on my phone, and that's how I got HBO. So you
might have the AT&T app. I have the AT&T app on my phone.
You got to pay for it is what it is. I pay monthly for my AT&T television service off my phone. And the reason that's where I get my local channels.
Still pay for it.
Yeah, oh yeah. But that's where I get my local channels. Instead of paying for cable, I just pay for this AT&T. It's half the price. It's like $50 instead of about $50 a month.
Yeah, you see, I'm paying the same thing for YouTube TV, and I get local TV.
See, YouTube TV should have your HBO. I don't know if it comes with it or not.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
You have to sign. Yeah.
So it might be cheaper to add it on YouTube, honestly, than to try to add it as separate. Chances are you could probably.
Do you see how confusing it is?
Yes.
Do you see how confusing it is for an old
confusing.
man just to try and get fucking HBO Max?
Yeah, Sandy, AT&T Uverse is like.
I'm exhausted.
I guess Uverse is still around.
Online trying to figure it out. I'm just like, fuck it. I don't even want to watch TV.
It is funny. You have to have a logical mind these days to work with computers, because all you're doing is like running through one scenario after another. It's like, well, this scenario didn't work. Let me try another one. Let me try it like this. Oh, nope, that's not working either. Let me try another one. You have to have patience.
All right, Polly, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to see the way I did Disney Plus for you. I'm going to try to see if I can do HBO Max for you. All right? So,
you're out of control. You're out of control.
I'll give it a try.
Game of Thrones. If you start watching Game of Thrones, we won't hear from you for a while. You'll be like, sorry, dude, I'm digging into this, because it is really, it's really well done and deep.
And Mike, I was sort of disappointed with Game of Thrones. Is like the first couple of seasons started with heavy TNA, and that started to drop as the seasons went. So I started losing, interest.
He lost interest, but
no.
But oh my God, the characters are so.
But it
deep.
is true though. It is true, because like every show had him like in a brothel.
Yes.
Like,
one of the main characters runs a brothel. So
yeah.
And so there's a lot of scenes that you wound up. And look, I will say this: these women that are over there, and most of them are English. Obviously, they are not shy whatsoever. I mean, you could tell that they weren't raised on Puritan culture like we were here in the States, because these women have no issue whatsoever with the form of a woman. They're just doing their thing. Reminds me of that girl Ava Green. You ever see Ava Green? She's fearless. She's gorgeous, but fearless. I've seen her she just doesn't. You know what I'm talking about, right, Luis? I mean, you've seen her in different movies, and she doesn't care. She'll take everything off and just start doing and act like she's sitting there and dressed full. Just fearless.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. I can't. I can barely be naked in front of myself.
I know. If a mirror's around, I'm like, oh shit, let me get the hell out of it.
Oh wait, yeah. Just
right.
Who is that? Oh shit, they're right. Yeah.
Oh, it's me. I thought it was gonna be fogged up. I need to use hotter water. It's supposed to be fogged up.
Change the channel. Shit, I can't.
That's always one of the happy little accidents, when it fogs the mirrors, so I can't see myself when I get out of the shower. It's like, yay! Hide me from myself, please.
And now Mike feels so much closer to you now, Mike.
Why? Because I talked about showering? So now we're talking about showering.
I'm glad you shower, though. That's amazing. Not many people can say that nowadays during COVID. It was one of those.
Lorelai just said she resisted Game of Thrones too at first. But I'm sure what you're saying is once you start watching.
It's a really good story until the guy screwed up the last season.
Well, what happened, I don't know if you know much, but the guy who wrote the books isn't finished the books yet. The series over, but the books aren't finished.
No.
So they ran out of book. And when they ran out of book, they were kind of working with him. But the other thing is that they had picked up a Star Wars trilogy. And I think that played into it a little bit. And so they ended Game of Thrones early. They decided just to wrap it up. They had this thing going. And so one of the things that's wonderful about the beginning of it is like when they want to go someplace else, it might be 4 or 5 episodes before they get to where they're going. You have to take the journey with them. It's not like, the next scene you see them, they're at the place you talked about. You live with these characters as they go through all these different things. And towards the end, it sort of just started going like, well, let's get here real quick. We got to do this. We got to get here real quick and do this. Got to get here real quick and do this. And it was one of the things that people kind of were like, well, dude, this is not Game of Thrones. What, this is different.
See, here's what here's an unpopular opinion of mine, Mike. The author, he got popular really quick, really fast, and he enjoyed it.
Oh, he still enjoys it. He's a fucking mouthy little Twitter user.
Oh, yeah. So what I'm saying is he enjoyed it. So, and he was making all this money, and I'm sure all these women and all these other people were throwing themselves at him to where you have no motivation to finish the next book.
Why finish? They're happy now.
That's my opinion. It's like, why do I need to go further? I think he was like that one kid in school who got ignored, and now that he got all this attention toward him, hey, we're good. I mean, again, this is just my opinion. So,
I think you might have something there because I've been able to be really prolific because not many people were really listening. So it kept me from that swarm of people who wanted to get my energy and women sleeping with me and all that. None of that stuff ever happened. So I just had a lot of time to write songs and put out albums. So there's something to that.
And not to mention, I mean, at that point, do you start to get afraid of releasing something else because you're like, well, shit, now I got to live up to something? I mean, before that, you just wrote books. Right.
Another thing I never face.
I've never had to face that either, actually. The only thing that comes close to it is when I have to do a remix of something that I did live. And sometimes, because the energy of live is just so amazing, and when you have to do that again in the studio, it's difficult to get that energy.
Live is the toughest thing to create. It's the toughest thing.
Yeah,
it really is. All right, listen, we only have a couple minutes left, and you'll have
wait a second. I still got 3 minutes. Okay, check it out. So I had an interesting week this week. I finally got in my mail my Loki. Yes.
Awesome.
From the time variant, right? He looks like Al Bundy to me, right?
Yep.
He does. Long.
He's got a big crotch, though. What's up with that?
He does. Well, hey, I'm not looking at his crotch, but sure,
it's bulging out of the screen.
That's true. It is bulging. Maybe you should hide it, but we should also lobby for is a Detective Dillard action figure. That would be great,
dude. That's awesome.
And Mike, not to leave you out, but we also got a Mike Mayhew action figure too.
That's awesome. You got to send me some pictures of those guys. I'm definitely gonna have some fun with those guys.
Well, I literally put these together like within the last half hour right before it came on. I shit you not.
No kidding. You got to send us some pictures.
So you have Loki going through the next episode, and he has Dillard right next to him, right? So like, dude, I can help you.
Is that Phil Coulson? It looks kind of like Coulson.
It is Phil Coulson.
Okay,
he has that Paul look. He has that Paul look too. See, I don't have. Here's the problem. I don't have a figure with a fedora. So the closest thing I have is the straw hat from Coco. So that was just really that's just
nice. That's
awesome. I'm gonna get to fedora.
That's when you're singing Mota. You got that hat on. You sing Mota, Mota, Mota.
Dude, we wanted like when Paul would come to Chicago. Me and the Sterls were like, "Hey, play Remember Me from Coco." And Paul was like, "I've seen the movie." No, we're like, "Shit." So we're like lobbying hard for a while for Paul to play "Remember Me" from. I don't even know which way I'm going here from Coco. So yeah, we can say Loki for next week because since Paulie didn't see it, I did watch Superman and Lois. Man, just watched the first episode. It was good.
It's good.
And the guy's trying really hard to be like Christopher Reeve, right? Okay. But at the same time, they made him a family man. He has twins.
Oh.
They sort of sped it up a little. So he's married to Lois and he has twins. What's that?
He's just thinking about the twins thing.
He has twin kids.
You can't just deviate from historical fact. If this were fiction, then sure, invent a family, invent that Lois Lane saw Fortress Solitude same time he did first time. But this isn't fiction. This is Superman. Like Batman's fiction, Spider-Man's fiction, Captain America fiction. Superman, historical fact.
You ever saw The Player, where they talk about it's funny. The Player, they kind of show what they call log lines. For movies, they have these things called log lines, which means you basically put the whole fucking movie in a sentence and a half, right? So they'll sit there and go, yeah, well, what was the movie you were just fucking talking about? God damn it, I lost it. What was the movie you were just talking about? What were we just talking about?
Superman.
All right. So Mr. Mom meets Superman Returns, and we put those two together, and he's gonna be like a Michael Keaton type character, having to deal with the kids and the twins while Lois is off working. Superman at home, somebody's getting hit by a train, but Superman's at home because he's got to feed the baby. He can't go, and now he's got this. How do I save the world and feed my kids while Lois is off at work? I just think it's funny.
And that's what happens when you deviate from historical fact.
Right, you want it with shit. Well, by the way, is there any precedent for it in the comic books, Luis? Did he have any?
Not that I remember. I mean,
Right.
honestly, not that I. Because the moment it's like the moment you make Peter Parker into an adult, you change what made him, as a kid. You know what I mean?
Right.
He was a kid who had to save the world, but do his homework. That's what made Peter Parker is the everyman. Right. And that's one of the best things about the Spider-Man suit is anybody, black kid, Mexican kid, white kid, they can all picture themselves as Spider-Man, right? You're not showing any part of your body, and you can say, I could be like Spider-Man. That's one of the draws of Spidey. You have Superman who's chiseled chin, built body, like, I can admire him try to be like Superman, but you don't imagine yourself like Superman. If you do, you got an awesome, self, view of yourself. But, it just comes back to making Superman a family man with kids. It's a hard sell for some people, right? It's a hard sell.
It's just a high concept thing. Like WandaVision was high concept. This is high concept. Yeah. And you have Superman as a stay-at-home dad with the kids while Lois is out being a reporter. It's very modern of you,
right?
But it's nothing to do with the original story. And Lois was
look. To be fair, I haven't seen one episode of this show yet, so I don't know if that's. I don't know if that's what's going on.
So what made the show interesting is this: he has two kids. So they're twin boys, right? Jonathan and Jordan. They're each on the different end of the spectrum. One kid's like Paul would say, like the Thor type. He's the quarterback as a freshman for the varsity team,
right?
And one kid has depression, going through pills, and all these other things. The real emo kid, whatever the term is nowadays. So you have two of them, and Superman's worried that the athlete is going to get all his superpowers, and the other kid's going to get a lot more jealous because he's not going to have anything of his dad's traits.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't reveal to him that he's They don't reveal to the kids that he's Superman. I mean, amazing what a pair of glasses can do, right? But
right.
So then it turns out it's almost like the X-Men, where the kid's latent power shows up. The kid with the emo powers ends up having the superpowers, and the jock does not.
Interesting.
So
it's like Bizarro. It's almost like the Bizarro character kind of thing, right?
Right. So I mean, again, I watched it. My sister was like, "What are you doing? Why are you watching Superman?" I'm like, "Shut up! This is homework for tomorrow's."
We didn't even watch.
So it's interesting, but it has nothing to do with Superman.
Right.
Okay.
So but actually, it was fun. It was fun, though. I mean, it wasn't bad.
I think we still have to watch a few episodes before we decide anything, Paul. We have to be fair. We have to watch a couple episodes. People have told us it's good.
Oh, God. If I have to suffer, it can't be worse than WandaVision, so I guess I'll give it a try.
Just a couple episodes. You don't have to go for. If you like it, keep going, obviously. If you don't, try Game of Thrones once we get you set up with HBO. Just try a couple episodes of that. Dude, the first episode's going to have you. The first fucking episode will have you. The end of the first episode is like, holy shit. Are you kidding me?
We will discuss much more next week when I have watched both episodes of Loki.
I see you guys.
And thank you guys for coming. Next week, I don't know who our guest is next week. We'll figure something out. We'll let you guys know.
We'll figure something out.
Yeah, I've been talking to Chris Finney to see if he wanted to do it. He might have doctor things, but he might be interested in doing. He's interested in doing it. It's just whether or not he can.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll work it out.
We'll figure it out. But
and we'll talk on that, and it'll be fun.
All right,
you guys have a great fucking weekend, awesome weekend, and thank you for coming and hanging out with us for a few. We appreciate it. And give that video a like if you want. By the way, if you want to watch Paul rant, give it an unlike. And then on Monday we will discuss what an asshole you are.
Yeah, don't unlike. Don't unlike. Please don't unlike.
No, don't
You're
unlike.
just going to upset me and ruin my weekend and think turd burglar out there that's unlike me.
Don't unlike us for doing nothing. Come on.
Come on.
Or just because you do it better.
All right, I'm sorry. I always do this. I keep starting to push at the end of the fucking show. I appreciate it.
Yes, you do. Yes,
Talk to you guys later. I just hate to go. That's all. I hate to go. See you guys next week.
All right, see you guys.
Well, I used to keep my money in a cookie jar. It was shaped like a cat, it was a present from my brother. I read a lot of books, but I couldn't see between the lines. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. Well, her hair is as black as an alleyway, and it used to be red, and it used to be blonde. Truth is, her hair changes color all the time. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. Well, I'm staring at her shoulder, but it's not what I see when I hear two fellas fighting in the booth across from me. So I wipe away the ashes from an empty counter seat, and I wished I wasn't homesick, I wish I was asleep. Well, I hold her like a blanket up against my chin, and I need her like I need another pack of chewing gum. Well, we used to be like that, but now we're like this all the time. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind.